So usually we have you on Friday, and since we had the day off yesterday where we all got to recharge, it was nice. We're doing it here on a Saturday. Got you on video. It's always great to have you. And, I got to think yesterday, a chance for you to sit back and just enjoy a day off and also really enjoy how your ball club's playing.
Yeah, it was a great day. We spoke a little bit. You don't get a Friday off in the big leagues very often. It might have been my first Friday off in 26 plus years.
Ever?
But, yeah. Sometimes you catch a holiday every once in a while off that you don't really expect, a Memorial Day or 4th of July. But Friday afternoon, very relaxing day at home. And then jumped the flight last night to make sure I was here and ready to show up and get to work.
We don't think about it that much, because when we watch you guys, we see you in uniform. We think of you as baseball players, and, you're the manager, you got your coaches. But these off days for all of you, even though it's only one day, for you to go from Anaheim to San Diego, wife, kids, it's important to have those connections, during a season. You can't disconnect from the family. You still got to be present as a husband, as a father. I think fans, we don't think of it that way, but it is really key, especially for you and your players.
Yeah, without a doubt, and as a family, you try to get as much time as you can during the season together, but then you take advantage of the quality time in the off season. You look at our job, and we're grinding for 7.5 months, day in, day out, occasional days off like yesterday. But then when the season's over, you really do get to capture and make up that time and invest in your family and your kids. And so that's kind of the approach I've always taken. In the off season, you get up at 7 a.m, you take the kids to school, you pick them up, you grind, you just get in there, and you got that opportunity to be a part of their lives really full time. And those that are in the working class, those that grind and work 9-to-5 jobs, they miss out on some of that opportunity and some of those days when you get to go at a 3:00 scrimmage and see your kid play a high school football game. I'm going to miss that for the next 6-8 weeks, but eventually you do get to spend a lot of quality time on those 4 months you're off.
I was picking up Willow Glen cheerleaders last night at 9:30 at the Santa Clara Convention Center for cheer camp last night, which was awesome on a Friday night because normally I would be here and not able to do that. So it is those special times. When I think about your message down at spring training, a lot of us could sit back and go, all right, here's Kotsay. It's his first year. He's just, he's talking the talk. He's got to say this kind of stuff. And then who knows, we go out on this journey. You have a ton of losses. You have the June was the worst in franchise history or one of them. And then you're like, okay, but your message has been true the entire time, no matter what, whether it's now or you're playing good 9-5 since the All-Star break. I got since July 4th, last 26 games, you're 15-11, or we go back to that June. Your players, the message has never been lost. You have played hard the entire time, and I'm pretty sure no matter what, from here on out, the same thing's going to happen. I think you got to be proud of yourself, your staff, and your players that no one has deviated from that message.
Well, the players really have built this culture, and they believed in it as we left camp. And I've spoken a little bit about, some of the things, the challenges that took place as we became a team, and then the team dynamic changed through the obviously the trades and how we had to stay focused on what we could control and not what we can't control, and the next man mentality, next man up. And we went through it again here recently with the trade deadline and losing two of our leaders out of our clubhouse, two impact players in Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino. And these guys have come together really and just moved forward. And, it's tough to see a friendship walk out the door. You're happy for them that they're on their way to a playoff contending team, possibly a World Series contending team. But the message here is just say we're going to prepare to win every day, and we're going to look up at the end of the year and not hang our heads, but be proud of the fight and what we went through and what we've accomplished.
Yeah, whenever it happens, it is very emotional. I mean, we saw it down. You've seen it obviously way more up close, but we got to see down in Mesa. Sean Manaea gets traded. Guys are crying with Sean in the clubhouse. It's very emotional. I mean, you've been through it in your career and you're now doing it as a skipper, but for you as a guy who's preparing to win every day, whether it was spring training or now, how do those losses of those players affect you?
Yeah, for me, and as you talk about, I lean on a little bit of my personal history in the game and being traded, being released or designated for assignment. And so, I think you have to be able to move forward, like you said, and move on and understand that there's no rearview mirror in this game. You got to just keep going forward and plugging in guys that are now going to have an opportunity to solidify themselves as a number one or as a closer and contribute to this team's success.
Well, one thing is for sure in these next 2 days, and I'm making it very clear, I can't stand them. I grew up not liking the San Francisco Giants. I've never liked the San Francisco Giants. Just the whole Bay Area thing, the way they're treated versus us. I understand the Giants got here in '58 before the A's. You understand it as a player. What is it like, though, for you when you see the Giants as a former A's player, coach, now a manager, Bay Bridge Series? What does it mean?
Well, it's not as deeply rooted as your as your hatred for sure. I like those guys over there. I mean, they're good guys. But yeah, it goes just back to the fact, like, regardless of who the opponent is, we're going to try to win every day. So, this series, I think we split it over there. 2 really good contested games. Hopefully, these games are great games and the A's come out on top. So from that standpoint, growing up a Dodger fan, I wasn't real fond of the Giants as well. So, but obviously it's a little more rooted where you're coming from, Tony.
Well, speaking of a Dodger fan, tough loss, obviously, with the great Vin Scully, who, whether you grew up in Southern California, you grew up a broadcaster, a baseball fan, my God, NFL, all the big calls he had in the NFL. I mean, he did the Masters in golf on CBS.
I was going to say he did golf too, didn't he?
When we were kids, You're like, he was like, if people think of Jim Nantz, you're like, no, when we were kids, he was the Masters, right? So obviously for someone like yourself who grew up a Dodger fan, not an easy day.
No, not really. And he, I think, brought a lot of the love of the game out for me in watching baseball. And my greatest memories of Vin Scully lie with how he introduced myself as a major league player, the passion he had, the knowledge and depth he had of not just me as a player, but me as a person, describing a 7-year-old boy riding a BMX bicycle for a national championship, talking about my father, the fact that he was a Los Angeles Police Department motor officer, the stories he told, like he got to know me and my family, and he cared about everyone. Not just, yes, this is a personal story about me, but you could talk to any baseball player that was maybe a local kid from the Los Angeles area, and he studied you. He knew you.
It's like I get these notes that have like everything about you guys, right? Like Vin Scully had this secret database.
He did.
That he could say, as you said, at 7 years old, growing up in Southern California, he would sell hot dogs on the car. He had like this secret information that nobody else had.
And Dave Roberts, I saw the clip just in my office a little while ago, but the 3-word time for Dodger baseball.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And as an Oakland Athletic fan, you never wanted to hear the greatest line ever, the impossible, the improbable,
whatever. The impossible has become the improbable.
It was unbelievable. So.
What actually was that? What was it, Cody?
The impossible has happened on something. What was it?
Now the problem.
I have the call of it if you really want to hear it.
The call's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and that's what I grew up with. So.
Well, we went back and listened to The Catch.
Yeah.
NFC title game. This is the great Dallas Cowboy dynasty, and you're now just seeing for the first time, is this old guy Bill Walsh and this young guy Joe Montana going to work? And I went back and watched it, and because we were little kids when it happened, and he was like, could this be the start of a new dynasty? And he was dead on, right? Because after that catch, the San Francisco 49er dynasty would roll on. Now, as we start to look at your club here, and we're going down the stretch, this is game 108 for you. What exactly do you want to see? Because there's got to be, we've called it the year of discovery. There's got to be some type of stuff that you want to see that you're looking for into next season?
Well, obviously, you want to be able to see some progression, some in the right direction for the young guys. The young guys are here and they're trying to establish themselves, and you obviously want to see this team continue to, as you talked about, continue to fight, to continue to put their head down and go out and prepare to win every day. The guys down in the bullpen, the younger guys down there, the AJ Pucks, the Zach Jacksons, even Danny Jimenez, even though he's not a young by age, he's still young and experienced. So continue to see growth. I mean, that's the biggest thing for us. We need to continue to improve and continue to see growth in the right direction.
Yeah, not to harp on the trade deadline, but is it nice now that we don't have a waiver wire process? Like, I didn't get to trademark Kotsay, but now I can put him through the waiver wire Now that that's come and gone, we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, you don't have to worry about it, but then you also would, if there's an opportunity, I was put on the waiver wire. And
probably multiple times,
and
right?
Guess what? I went to the Boston Red Sox and had the greatest run in 2008 I ever had in a playoff run, and fell one game short because we lost 3-1 in Game 7 to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. One game short of making a World Series, which I wouldn't have had that opportunity on the Atlanta Braves because they weren't going to the postseason. So Frank Wren traded me, put me on the waiver wire. Red Sox showed some interest. Boom, I was gone and on a playoff team playing meaningful games in September, and I'm thankful for that. So in one way, it's very helpful that these guys now feel good. They're not going anywhere. On the other end, if you're a veteran player looking to go compete with the possibility of making a playoff run with a team, that chance isn't there anymore unless you just get released. And then now if you get released, there's no guarantee of a team picking you up anymore for those playoff runs. So it's a catch, 22 and whether it's beneficial or whether it's not really.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm happy for Lou. If anybody needed a reset, it was Lou Trevino, and Lou going to the Yankees now, shave the beard, reset, and hopefully pitch in some meaningful games. Because obviously his numbers here were tough, and it's good to see him get a second chance. So now you got a roster. It's an interesting roster, and you got to get at bats for a lot of guys. I think Dermis is going to be in the game today, and Jonah Bride's going to be in the game today. How do you start delegating the at bats? I know Elvis is a veteran player, maybe doesn't get as much time here in the second half. How do you start delegating at bats? You want to get Nick Allen in there every day, see what he's got.
Yeah, we do, and that's the difficult task. It's one that I have to manage and be honest with these guys, be upfront with them, and make sure that they understand. We're trying to win as many games. We're also trying to see these guys and evaluate them for our future. So ultimately, I think there's the DH spot. There's some chances to move around and utilize the matchups to be able to hopefully get guys enough at bats to allow them to build for their future and also next year.
Quickly, let's end on this. For your starters, and we were talking about this the other day with Dave Stewart about a guy like Paul Blackburn. Even though Blackburn and Cole, they have been in the big leagues and been in Major League Baseball or professional baseball a long time, but really haven't gone, all right, this is 30 starts year after year after year. How do you monitor that as they're kind of learning what a full, true season is like?
Yeah, I'm sure Stu talked about it, and that's one thing we're looking at right now with these young starters is where they're at in their innings pitched, where their velos are at right now. That's important to track, and then how they're holding up physically, their bodies, and we can tell that now in the weight room with the strength coaches. We can monitor that, and going forward, we're really going to pay attention to it. And we may look at ways to give them an opportunity to have maybe an extra day rest or lighten their workload to a certain extent. But ultimately, we haven't gotten to that point yet. But as you talk about, we have to stay on top of it and continue to evaluate it.
Last 20 games, 31 home runs, 69 extra base hits. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Thank you for your time. As always, it's the Mark Kotsay Show, brought to you by Nest Betting. Enjoy the Bay Bridge Series, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tommy.
That's your skipper right here on A's Cast Live.